When our protagonist was a child, the fortune teller of the village headman predicted that when he grew up, he would wear a yellow robe. There was food on the table, lots of different high-end food and booze that cost a lot of money. And our boy understands that his life is full of freedom. Sitting on his moped, he was enjoying life. When he grew up, he realized that some woman had been right about something she had told him in the past. There were a bunch of new messages on that phone about order deliveries, and that woman was right in living so desperately every day. And he was also aware that sooner or later a certain Ling Chung would die. And at that moment, a truck was speeding right into him, and his driver started yelling for the guy to leave because the truck was out of control. But before he could even blink, he had already been hit, and all that could be heard was screaming for an ambulance and that he had passed away. But some man yelled that he couldn't let his brother die and started punching him in the face, telling him not to pretend to be dead. He wakes up, after which he asks me to stop hitting him, but there was something strange in front of him. It was unclear where he went, if he died, what was going on, what kind of room. Some system began to appeal to him as the master of Lin Chung, and as his career in food delivery ended unsuccessfully, he launched a god-level food delivery system. And also Lin Chung will now be tied to the system, and he is angry, not understanding why even after death he has to do this. It was quickly explained to him that as long as he performs the tasks of the system, he will receive system points as a reward. They can be spent on various skills and abilities. But of course Lin didn't believe it, saying it was all bullshit. What's the difference between all this and a bad lifestyle? To which he was told if the assignment fails, or he gets a bad review, he would immediately go to the 18th floor of hell, which frightened Lin, and he said he repented. God-level delivery system successfully connected to Ling Chung, and he himself did not understand anything. He was welcomed, and the system was happy that he was now a member of the system. Induction training successfully completed, Master. Start taking orders, the system said. In the morgue, he stood up, throwing over various instruments, covered in blood, and also frightened the nurse. And then a window popped up saying that he had received a starter gift set. Rebirth? The magic doctor, after taking this potion, it will eliminate pain throughout the body and cure it, as well as strengthen it. An additional function adding beauty. Lin wondered if others saw his system, and also added that it had poor design. But he likes it all, and without a second thought, he began to drink this potion, which began to give him points. The nurse was incredibly frightened, and was convinced that he was a serial killer. Lin became quite handsome, and turned to the nurse saying that he felt fine, and would be fine, and she fell in love with his beauty. And she already decided, without a drop of fear, but with love and clumsiness, that she would call the doctor. And Lin got a message on his phone telling him to take his order. He's already waiting for delivery. Rich people live on the street that was specified in the delivery, and his first order will be there. Rich people are usually the luckiest, and he thinks his luck has increased after his rebirth. He accepted the order, and also the user rating was very high, as much as 99%. It looks like we see the same girl who made this order, and she was playing on her phone. She was arguing with her ally in the game, and when he found out she was a girl, he told her to delete the game because this game is for men. As it turned out, she was literally starving, and the food delivery guy hadn't arrived yet. When Lin did get there, at full speed, but the guard wouldn't let him in, saying it was private property. He got a message from the girl that if he hurried up, he would get a tip, and started begging the guard to let him in. But the guard explained that many thieves and robbers passed themselves off as food delivery men. In the game, she was again being persecuted, telling her to move, and because of her they are now going to lose. She finally got the ulta. Of course she was told to use it, and at the most critical moment of this game, they lost because of her ally. But he did not care and continued to insult the girl, again telling her to move, and if she does not know how to play, then let him delete the game. It's all this dude in a turtle suit's fault. And then she gets a call from Lin, who wasn't allowed on the property. He did ask for her number at that moment, and he thought that the person who ordered the order would not hang up on him. Lin had just started to talk, but she got nervous and interrupted him, and said it was okay to knock on the door instead of calling, and furthermore, the waiting time had expired, so she would give him a bad review. She really started to give a bad grade, and wrote a bunch of bad words, which made Lin freak out. The system came out in front of him again, and asked how the master of divine delivery couldn't deliver an ordinary order to a mere mortal. She gave him a new task. He has to find and beg this girl named Xia Shui'er, and for this, he was given various skills, and if he completes the task there will be a reward. And when Lin was surprised by this, the guard thought to call the psychiatric hospital. He firmly stopped her, telling her that if she refused his delivery and gave him a bad review, she would regret it for the rest of her life. He was the only one who could help her solve her one huge problem. But she denied it, saying that some food delivery guy wouldn't be able to help her with such a grandiose embarrassment. 3 minutes later, the two of them were already sitting and playing this game together, and she really hopes this isn't some kind of trick to avoid a bad review. She noticed that he decided to choose a character similar to him, and he realized that she obviously has a problem with her eyes. It's obviously his game copy. It looks like the divine system tried. And on their team again was the man who had insulted her, and she asked to make his death as humiliating as possible, but he didn't understand how he could let a comrade die. Lin said hello to his allies, and said a rather self-righteous phrase, and his allies noticed that out of 3,000 games he had 0% of wins, and another remembered this girl, for he had insulted her. He realized that Su wanted this man dead, but what a skill to play. In 3,000 games her win rate is almost 0%, and the main task of her character is a helper, but the weapon is labeled physical attacks. Nonsense. And he offered to go out and change weapons, but she banned because if he goes out, he will no longer meet the player who insulted her. Such a small victory rate lowers his life level. With that amount, even against weak monsters, he would have to retreat, and an ally told him to just follow them and stand aside. Su started yelling at him, telling him not to dare to back down and stand aside, and added that she would give him money if he smashed that player, and Lin asked her to stop throwing money around. One of the allies claimed that if Lin, but it was Su's account, so he thought it was her, and claimed that if she messed up, she should show him her breasts live on air. But Lin immediately ran away. An ally asked him what the hell he was doing, and he of course hid. For a ballast like him, that's normal. Su was angry that he was hiding, and Lin explained that she had equipped the character with very bad equipment, so it was no problem for anyone to kill him. But she decided that if he paid, she would give him a bad grade. But Lin was sure that unfortunately for her there would be no bad feedback for the delivery. He was sure he could impress her. And this ally also decided that since Lin does nothing but has an almost full life count, let him not blame him for dying together. He pulled Lin, and the opponents asked what the hell he was hiding. This little guy won't save you. Fight your own battles, they argued. But Lin did not want to die, and the progress of the accumulation of power was at 100%, and he got the very skill invincibility. Finally, this scale is filled to the end, and it is possible to activate this ability. Lin immediately pressed, and something incredible began to happen. He jumped into the air, hit his opponents, and made a circle around them, followed immediately by a strong fire attack that took away almost all their health. And with the fire effect it finished them off. It was a double murder, and a very effective one at that. Su was surprised that he was so good at this game. He said that yes, he is good, but not to worry, the best part is yet to come. That ally started accusing them that it wasn't Su on the account now, but the booster, and he asked to give her the account, which made Su angry and tell him to kill him, and Lin knew he was right. Lin said he did, and the ally replied that it was easy because he had already played one game with Su and knew when she was playing, and Su herself literally wanted to rip his head off. And then this ally just gets finished off by some low-ranking lizard, coincidentally, and Su called it a good job. After 15 minutes Su called his technique great, and Lin said that in that case let her give him a good review for the delivery. She agreed, but first she asked for a special task. So the system gave him invincibility skills in the game, and did not cheat, and indeed invincible. In order to activate the invincibility skill, you need to concentrate your mind as carefully as possible. Now the special game is about to start. He's more than sure they're going to come at them in droves. Rush. So stay out of my way, Lin said. All the players began to attack Lin because he was the strongest, and everyone knew it, so they cooperated. And Lin didn't hesitate to use his ability, because his goal was to win in order to get a good grade. He killed a player with one punch, without any problems, because the damage from his attacks was very high. He could kill 2 or 3 people in a row, which was an incredible ability in this game. His allies have also realized how strong he is, and that this test is very easy for him, and they want to be his friends. And the opponents insulted his team, calling them wimps, because they are all fought for by one. And in the end they obviously won, which Sue was very happy about, because she had hardly ever won. She asked Lin to take her as an apprentice because of this, and she clung to him, which confused him, and he didn't understand what she meant. If Lin would not accept her as an apprentice, she would give him a bad review for the delivery. Lin himself thought to object and say that they had agreed otherwise, but he didn't care anymore. Gee, she changes the terms of the contract. She's a devil, but she looks like a nice girl who wouldn't hurt a fly. Come on, one more time, one more time. Sue was begging him for something he didn't understand, and it sounded very unseemly. But as it turned out, she persuaded him to train her again. Lin was tortured all night, so he was tired. And Lin abruptly snatched the phone out of her hands because he was sick of it, which made her cringe. He decided that he would no longer allow himself to be blackmailed, and gave himself a good review himself. She called him a bastard, and she remembered him. So one day she would call for his delivery again. If the next time he turned her down, she would give him bad reviews for life, and Lin thought she wouldn't do that, and was glad that he was free now. Last night was such a picture that she literally wouldn't let him go, even though he had already played a bunch of games and told all the secrets of the game. It was really too hard to get a good review. Why did it turn out this way in the first place? The system came out of the wall and congratulated Lin on his first successful task, which made him frightened and asked him not to scare him like that again. He had already barely survived the accident. In fact, the system came to give him the opportunity to play the lottery. He can try his luck in the lottery for completing the last task. Lin played the lottery, and was awarded what he thought was a useless nature sound skill, with which he can sing something and touch the listener to his heart's content. And by the way, he cannot click on the options of lower tasks. The system has explained him that below the top tasks are higher, and so far he could only perform tasks E level. Suddenly his phone rings again, because there is a new order that needs to be picked up as soon as possible. The destination was some place called the White Swan Club, a rather unusual name. It was a very expensive place for the elite of society, and not many people could afford to eat there. Some man came to everyone and realized that everyone seemed to be there, so he decided to introduce everyone to the girl standing next to him. It's one of his girls. Her name is Meng Yun, and you could tell she was uncomfortable being there. Everyone immediately noticed how beautiful she was, and one of the people told this young Mr. Zhang that he was afraid for his fans and admirers, that they would be upset because of such a competitor. Yun herself did not understand what he meant, because she is not his girlfriend, and Zhang explained that their families insisted on it, and he would have had to explain that they were dating anyway, because marriage was a prerequisite for cooperation between families. He decided to introduce her to his friends, even though she didn't want to, but he blackmailed her that she would ruin his family's reputation by doing so. A man asked Yun why she was silent, then pointed to the red wine, and said she should try it. She thanked him, but refused to drink the alcohol, and at that time an incomprehensible drug was slipped into some glass, and he insistently tried to get her to drink the glass, saying that the man was his good friend and she was his girlfriend, and shouldn't refuse his friend's treats. If you don't want to drink wine, have some juice, he said, and held out the glass, but she refused, saying that she had already ordered plain water. And then he started blackmailing her again, that if she didn't drink it, he would tell his aunt all about it, and maybe she would even reconsider giving the Yun family such wonderful terms of cooperation. Because of this, she realized she couldn't let it happen, and drank the glass of juice without knowing there was anything in it. Zhang called her a smart girl and hugged her, Everyone was looking at them thinking they were a good couple. The woman standing to the side was angry that Zhang Jiang didn't like her. He liked her purely because of her looks. So she walked right up to Yun, with the intention of saying or doing something, clearly not something good. She began to say that she had heard that not long ago Yun was recognized as the most famous and talented girl in Wuhan City, and asked her to dance or sing something for them. This girl was Zhang Zhang's ex. She was always like that, always trying to stir up the atmosphere and make it more heated. But Yun was determined, and she realized that she had to change everything. So she explicitly said she wouldn't do it. Then she stood up and said what she should not have said, under any circumstances, that she was not Zhang Zhang's girlfriend, which made Zhang's ex-girlfriend have a wondering face that didn't know what Yun was talking about. And then Lin burst in abruptly with a smile on his face, after which he says, "Guest room 0699, their order has been delivered." This order was summoned by Yun, who began to pick it up, but when she came closer something surprised her. Apparently they knew each other at some point in the past, and she recognized Ling Chung. But Lin himself didn't seem to be happy about this meeting, and wondered what she was doing here, thinking he was finished. And so, he was already sitting with them on the couch, not understanding how the situation could have taken such a turn. A few minutes ago, Lin was thinking about the fact that he had graduated, and thought that he would never meet this according to him demon again, but fate confronted him again with this demoness. So then he said without a second thought that he still had other orders, so he's leaving. But the system warned him right away that his behavior could lead to a slowdown, so he was given his first warning, even though he tried to justify that it wasn't his fault, because Yun was too cruel, she was the most popular, but in fact she was a tyrant in a skirt. High school days. Everyone in high school thought that Yun was the kindest and most innocent girl, but in fact in high school she was very cruelly harassed for no reason by many guys. When Lin asked what happened here, he was told that yesterday the teacher forbade Yun's best friend to skip classes, and today Yun's family bodyguard beat him up. Lin began to call the system a jerk if he wanted to send him to certain death, but the system replied that their goal is delivery, the difficulties are not important, you need to meet the customer with a smile, and also leave him. In any case, if he does not decide with it properly, it will kill him. Yun, seeing what happened to his face, asked if he was okay, and why he was so pale. But in Ling Chang's mind it looked as if she was asking if he wanted to escape, or was he looking for death. So he frightenedly quickly stepped back, saying he was perfectly fine. Zhang decided to intervene with them, and asked Meng Yin who it was, and do they know each other? Yun happily replied, "I know." But Lin in turn said he did not know her. He realized that he said his thoughts out loud and began to make excuses. Or rather he knows. It would be strange if he did not know someone who was the most beautiful girl in school and was in the same class as him. Haha. Asked Zhang. He remembers that Meng Yin went to Eton Academy, the best class, right? Only how is it that a graduate of a noble academy, and the best class of the academy was a food deliveryman? But Yun objected, saying that it does not matter what profession, the main thing is the spiritual development and upbringing of a person. Lin was surprised at this, and realized that perhaps she had changed. She apologized to Zhang, and said she wanted to talk to her old high school friend about the old days. Zhang said that since they were old friends, Lin might stay, but in fact he thought that Lin had come here to compete with him for Yun, so he thought he would crush him to death. And that's how he ended up in the company of these people. He didn't understand why Meng Yin was needed, because they hardly knew each other. And Zhang's ex was surprised that the graduate of the best class of such an academy became an ordinary delivery boy. So she thinks that the academy has no right to be called the best academy in China. And this is not just because of Lin, but because of another girl who is now in this building. Yun got angry and told her not to slander the reputation of her academy, but she told her that in that case let Yun prove otherwise. Lin noticed that Yun felt it was his duty to protect the good name of his home academy, and since that girl had asked for something musical, now was the time to use the skill he had recently mastered. So he jumped up and said that her words are nonsense. All students from this academy are talented people. He's just one of the worst graduates. But even so, he can still show what the worst student at Eton Academy can do. Lin noticed that Yun had a kind of depressed look, and if you think about it, if he sings badly, she's sure to give him a bad review for delivery. By the way, he was very lucky. He didn't expect that such a useless skill would come in handy so soon. Lin began to sing incredibly well and impressively, as if he were a pro at it. Many people somehow felt as if this deliverman singing was so intensely familiar to them. She didn't expect Lin to sing so well. It was hard for Yun to think. For some reason, she felt lightheaded until she thought it was because of that very drink. And something was strange. Looking at Lin, her heart began to pound sharply faster. That girl, who was Zhang's ex, and arranged it all, couldn't tear herself away from Lin, his beautiful singing. And it made Zhang incredibly angry, because he realized that he had already begun to yield to Lin. For some reason, he kept sounding familiar to everyone. They started filming him on their phones, and no one expected him to sing so well. Like a seductive siren, if he participated in the show Voice of Wago, he would be the winner. Yun's body was so hot, hotter and hotter. Everyone was shouting about how well Lin sings, and getting excited, getting positive energy from his singing. But it still annoyed Zhang. He did not understand what kind of gathering. They gathered around a poor beggar. He is so poor that he had never even been to a concert. They were at a misunderstanding. But his friends said that although Zhang was right about something, but this performance is really amazing, the other agreed that his level is good enough. Lin told Zhang that he's arrogant. It's hard enough to sing like that, and he doesn't like anything else. But he's right. Lin has never been to concerts. And Yun couldn't stand what was happening to her and stood up. Lin noticed it and got worried about what had happened to her. He realized that she was all on fire, and Yun asked him to get her out of there as quickly as possible. Zhang stopped him and asked where he was going with his girlfriend, to which Lin replied that she had a fever and he would take her to the hospital. And at that moment someone splashed wine on Lin's face, even though it was insulting, and most importantly for what? Zhang asserted that Lin is an idiot, because it's his girlfriend and only he can touch her. But Yun said right away that he wasn't his boyfriend. So once again, she asked him to take her away from here, and he swung his arm at her, telling her not to embarrass her, and that the well-being of her family still depended entirely on him alone. Of course, Lin didn't hesitate to stop his hand immediately, which surprised Zhang, and didn't understand what was going on, and added that Yun said she didn't want him to touch her, so get your hands off. He even dared to punch Zhang in the face, calling him a scumbag, an asshole, and a bastard. The system immediately gave him a new assignment, to get Meng Yun to safety, and Zhang confirmed that Lin was now dead. Zhang decided to start some kind of survival game, and his men began to come closer and closer. They began to surround Lin, thinking that he was only a little chicken, and each of them could handle him alone. But Lin himself was ready to accept their attack, even if they all attacked him together. He grabbed the punch of the first big guy who dared to hit him, and started squeezing his arm. Then he threw over his shoulder, just like a martial arts master, which surprised everyone. Lin just clobbered the lowlife, so he started screaming and saying he was in pain, begging to be let go. Now they decided to attack him as a group, realizing that they don't stand a chance alone. But Lin had no problem beating them one by one, hand and foot, leaving no chance. These thugs didn't understand why the hell an ordinary food delivery guy was so strong, and the rest of them filmed it on camera. Zhang ordered all the others who did not attack to do so, and to slay Lin. The system begins to tell Ling that he can now fight as he pleases, and create real arbitrariness, because the passive Rambo's skill is activated. She helps him a lot. Without her, he would not have made it through the last situation as well as this one. Ling continued beating one by one. Like a lightning bolt, he was giving everyone a slap in the face. It looked like a hero fighting a bunch of enemies much weaker than him. Zhang started to poke at Lin in confusion, but Lin immediately asked what he was poking at. If he didn't want him to poke at him too, then let him stay out of the way. And one of the people in the audience, who said he knew Lin very well, remembered who he was after all. Zhang snatched his phone out of his hands to see for himself who Lin is. As it turns out, Lin unknowingly became popular on the internet, thanks to Sue, and is known as a mentor. He only humiliated Jean with it, and he will make him regret it, and then he smashed his phone. They came to some hotel that was closest to them. They simply had no choice. Yun clung to Lin and said she was very hot and her clothes were uncomfortable, to which he replied that she had a fever and he should take her to the hospital, and why she was pressing her breasts against him, and why she had brought him to this hotel. And at the same time, he was being followed by some paparazzi who thought that the daughter of the main family had come on a secret date, and decided that tomorrow he would announce this big news. Lin's thoughts were forgotten by one, as if Yun's brain had not melted down. We need to bring her to her senses as soon as possible. When he saw the pool of water, he knew it was the right thing to do, and then he threw it into the water. But after his actions, he realized he was too impulsive, and turned Miss Man into a fallen dog. According to her character, right now she should torture him to death. As she stood up, Lin thought he was finished. Retribution caught up with a quick delivery from Gugu, too fast, and he only asked for a punch, not in the face, which was not a blow, but a soft touch. She asked for help, adding that she had been drugged. Yun's moans could be heard in their room, asking what he was going to do to her. He told her to lie still because he tied her up and decided that he would leave her here. Because he cannot go to the hospital, he might lose all his authority, and he is not ready to lose everything he has. Everything is too complicated even for a good review. The system abruptly appeared and said he could use the bonus points, which scared Lin again, and then he asked again to stop scaring him so suddenly. Lin asked if the system had any ideas, to which she replied that she was here to help, also found mood swings, high likelihood of order rejection. This pill can eliminate the effects of drugs. 100 points that Lin earned on the last mission can be used. Of course, it is his money. These drugs are pretty strong. You either have to use the pill or maybe sacrifice your body, and Lin chose to spend the points. But honestly, even the system thinks that this choice is really costly for Lin, and in the meantime, he was shoving this pill. Some time passed, and she woke up, not knowing where she was or what had happened to her. Also, she was dizzy. And at that moment, Lin came up to her, who noticed that she was sober, and brought her a glass of water. It turns out he helped her again, and she never thanked him for getting her out of there. So she asked him to tell her what he wanted, and she will try to fulfill it. Yun tried to say that he could get a high-paying job, but Lin interrupted her, asking her to just give him 5 stars. Because of what I did not understand the logic, he is more important than money and a good job. So I asked him if he really wants it, to which he replied that he just liked to work as a delivery boy. But in his heart he screamed, because he loves money, but life is much more important. He had to fight a lot of bodyguards to save her. It seems that this assessment is as important to you as your life, asserted Yun, and her intuition was too accurate. In the end he can leave, for her order he put on the table, and he completed this mission, an incredibly difficult task. He also gave her advice to stay away from such freaks next time. It's not every day you're lucky enough to meet such a wonderful food delivery guy nearby. After he left, Yun reflected that he was quite strange. So many times he helped her, but did not ask for anything in return. Even on the contrary, continues to help. And thinking about it, she said Lin was more interesting than she thought. You could tell by the look on her face that she wasn't who she said she was. And Lin was lying in his bed, as usual, sleeping, even though it was long past morning and it was time to get up. And then suddenly he gets a message, which turned out to be a message from Sue, calling him for help, because someone in the game threw her a call, to which Lin told her to just admit her defeat. But Sue knew he would refuse, which is why she ordered 1,000 takeout meals, and 100 of them are delivered by Lin, to which she replied that every time he teaches her to kill someone, she leaves him positive feedback. However, Lin was still angry, because even if she has money, not all games are not spent, and he extra hassle. And after a short time, they were already sitting next to each other and playing this game together. Apparently Sue bought a second computer. They got into the game, and who would have thought internet celebrity, Su-er's little sister would fight the evil four-eyed spirit. And now Lin finds out that not only is she rich, but also famous. And Su only asked him in what century he last went online. She has long let her claws into the internet. The very same four-eyed spirit who claimed he was going to put Su in his place today in front of a crowd of millions. And Lin wondered if she could even provoke him into a challenge. As it turned out, she was originally a special guest at the Divine Front competition with firearms. But he didn't like Lin helping her, so he challenged. And that's the reason they now have to beat the minnow to stay in the finals. And Su asked Lin to teach her how to play well. But as it seemed to him, it was easier to take his body and glue her face to the back of his head, like Voldemort's, unless they could find better equipment. And then some man bursts in, who according to him finally found them. It took some sweating, and Su realized that the evil spirit, they're here. But of course Lin was not confused, so he immediately took up arms to fight off the opponents. And then, as always, shot the man at ease, without making a single extra move. People started saying that he still has some skill, and he has good reaction speed, but they won't get any further than one kill. Su was happy about it, which made her hug Lin, surprised that they had actually killed someone, for that she would give him a good review right away. 8x scope, 98K, level 3 helmet. There's so much stuff in this backpack. Lin told her to be on the lookout. This is a teammate of the four-eyed evil spirit. Killing him, they immediately gave away their location, after which he noticed something. He had time to react and tell Su to get down as they started shooting, so he ran towards. It was an evil spirit and his assistant. They found them so quickly and had already come to kill them, leaving no chance until Lin found a good outfit. The equipment is ruined. Yes, they are on the move, and Su decided that she would shoot and Lin would cover, but he noticed that there was something wrong with their team. If not to shoot, what Lin is going to do? Asked Su, but he said not to ask, just follow him. And then they started shooting again, pushing them further and further into a corner, leaving no way out of the situation. Su was so scared, she almost died. Luckily, she had a level 3 helmet, and besides, they really shouldn't have any trouble defeating Lin and Su, since Diankula is a cheater, which is why Lin decided to turn to them, asking their opinion. Is this a fair game? How do you understand that the evil spirit found a teammate who uses cheats? Even though they are cheaters, but Lin has a system at the cost of a lifetime, in which cheats are useful in all cases. After one good review, Lin get the equipment on which cheaters cannot deal damage. The opponents began to say that he does not know how to play properly, and now calls them cheaters, to which he asked how. He then explained that he was able to hit Su-er if from the position he chose, it is impossible to see them. Diankula told Lin to stop messing with people's heads and talking nonsense, and just admit that he was scared of really experienced players. Oh yes, experienced of course. Now I'll show you how to play, asserted Lin. The system is synchronized. Su recklessly started throwing smoke grenades at them. Lin tried to stop her by asking what she was doing but couldn't. Then she asked him if he said they were cheaters, so they couldn't see them. They would hide somewhere else and wait for the toxic smoke to affect them. To which Lin replied that now they can't see them either. Besides, when did he say he couldn't beat them? He has a strategy, even against cheaters. Then what do they do now? Asked Su. Lin explained to her to take a frying pan, hide, and try not to just die. After which she once again asked why Lin took off his helmet. His gear is immune to damage from cheaters for another 45 seconds. So the system asked him to use every second. It's time to show them real skill, and prove that they are not the strongest here. They can be beaten even by beginners, although thanks to the system. Su really annoyed these players, and another approved that they really did not use the smoke at the right time. The audience already doubts. You cannot let them know that he uses cheats. But nothing. Another one of the team went upstairs and blocked the passage. In any case, the game will be over in 5 minutes. And the evil spirit calmly replied that there was no need to worry so much, because he had already spotted it, and then he started aiming to hit it precisely, leaving no chance for salvation. That's right, the evil spirit is masterful in shooting from the blind spot. Very soon all of China will see how the evil spirit taught those nubs. The blind spot is a skill of the four-eyed evil spirit. It is pure skill, right on target. The four-eyed evil spirit is impressive. Sis Su lost. But then, they all fussed and didn't understand what was going on. And then, they saw in all that smoke that Lin was upstairs. They had no time to turn around, and he was already very close to them, and could easily overpower them, as he had the advantage. And of course he did, jumping with his foot in the face of one of them, even though he had a helmet on that head. First, he decided to get rid of the problematic, someone who could cause him problems, because he was a cheater, and Lin's armor was not infinite. Lin managed to kill the four-eyed evil spirit, which made people very surprised, and doubted that Lin was playing fair, and the evil spirit was evil. Dianzela claimed that Lin cheated, and all the people really started to think it was true and blamed him, even thinking that he wanted to boost the ratings that way. Lin decided to be cool, then said that Dianzela would not even be accepted into the Navy with that reaction, and claimed he was the best. The immunity effect is over, so now Lin has to cope by himself, and he realized that he had to retreat. The system is very timely, screwed up the whole thing. Now even at the risk of being exposed, he must defeat this deliverman, the cheater decided, or the evil spirit will no longer recognize his power. And he's still hoping the evil spirit will make him popular and he'll profit. And Lin was thinking about how it's so exciting. Just 1 second will decide who wins and who loses. They both decided for themselves that they would win this match, because they simply have no other choice but to win. And at that moment a bullet was already flying straight into Lina's forehead, and it was unclear who would win in this exciting battle. But the first one was hit in the head by Lin's bullet, and Diancolo did not understand how it was possible, why he lost. It was definitely not easy to fight against a cheater, and a pro of this game. But Lin was glad that he made it. Su was also very happy to win. Even though she did nothing but smoke, Lin began to reason that who would have thought. You could not even worry, he thought she was dead, then asked how she had survived. She began to explain that she hid behind a door, which the enemy did not notice, unnoticed like a real ninja. And then without further ado, I grabbed the frying pan and smacked him over the head, without thinking, hitting him as hard as I could. She was something like heaven's chosen. After that she went to the right zone, but Lin had already beaten everyone. Lin was glad that she was finally making some progress. He was very happy about it. And Su started to ask why she was hitting so hard, using her position to get revenge. He killed 3, so let her hurry up and put a good review, but she asked to wait, because she has to see how the stream went. According to him and then she started yelling. Everyone who watched the stream started judging and insulting Su and Lin. They were cornered. A whole crowd of couch troops attacked them. There were many points of view, and that they would complain, because they do not believe that some pizza delivery guy can defeat the evil spirit. And in fact it was the evil spirit who wrote all the commenters to write insults to Su'er, because he was too angry at them. He thought they had gotten too cocky, and his allies seconded his opinion, adding that they were very strong. How could they lose? Evil spirit decided to expose them. Such a dirty player should be out of the game. One of the offenders said he would go to complain. Maybe this deliverman with inexplicable power, also cheater. He started calling Su a vegetable who can't play, and decided that she found a cheater for this game on purpose. So he told her to get out of the game, to which he replied that he was a four-eyed idiot who can't admit defeat. Which of his dogs saw Lin's cheats? Her skills are improving all the time. And of course Lin didn't forget his job. So he asked Su if she wanted to do something more important. Lin picked up the phone and asked what's his name. Four Eyes? How about resolving all the nuisances? Can you consider yourself a master if he complains about a girl? To which he began to shout that he was a four-eyed spirit, not just a four-eyed. Well, if he wants to make such a fuss, let's play again, Lin suggested, with a smirk on his face, and the evil spirit was surprised at the suggestion. Lin suggested this argument. If the evil spirit proves that Diancelin does not use cheats, then he will accept any of his conditions, and also, if it turns out that Lin is not a cheater, Then he will apologize to the entire audience, and he will also have a small request. Lin went on to smugly ask if he was scared, and said the evil spirit could apologize now and then, but he interrupted him, and said they would play, and see who else was a coward here. Half an hour later, all the people were already discussing their second battle, and were perplexed by everything that was going on, and how everything would be resolved, who would win this time. And then the microblog of the admins of the Divine Front with Firearms popped up, who reported that he is the admins of the Divine Front with Firearms. At the request of most of the network, they watched this match. During the game was found cheater, violating the rules of the game, which ID Dianzalu, which made Sue very happy, while Dianzalu and the evil spirit were dumbfounded, confused, and unsure of what was going on. The strongest human squad and Sue have passed the tests. They become the winners of this match, and receive 650,000 gold. All the commenters were embarrassed. They started insulting them already, and saying that Sue was the best, after which they all wrote together to apologize. Lin has already confidently told the system to show up, and she says he just got 3 good reviews, so he can get 3 skills. And he decided he wanted the sofa troops of commentators to get a stunning punch in the face. Anti-troll. When a troll on the internet gets personal with respect to Lin, then the anti-troll is applied to him. 10 punches in the face are automatically applied. A lot of people who insulted Lin and wrote something bad about him in general started getting punched, hitting themselves. Even the one who was sitting on the toilet hit himself in the face with a piece of paper with the contents, and his phone fell out of his hands. They could not understand why they were hitting themselves and what was going on. And they had the opposite of evil spirit beating Dianzalu, insulting him. He lied to him, saying he was not a cheater, he would not forgive him, even if he beat himself now. And Lin on the screen said that it was called "Do not be afraid of a strong opponent, but beware of an unreliable associate. You like to play, know how to lose." And yet with no choice, evil spirit started apologizing in front of all the commenters, saying that without having any evidence, he accused him of cheating, and he was wrong about that. Lin liked it, and said he accepted the evil spirit's apology, that would be enough, and now about his demand. But he says he refuses, not understanding what the requirement is, so he just can't fulfill it. The official list of invitees to the finals came, and it was some people who were discussing the results of this test, and he was very surprised, not understanding why the hell Lin Chung, the deliverman, is involved in the competition. Are the admins out of their minds? 3 days later, it was the final day of the Battle of the War Gods. Lin was standing at a bus stop talking to someone on the phone. Sue asked if Lin wasn't allowed in, but he said no, so she and the evil spirit would wait outside, and he would be there in 20 minutes. Evil spirit took the phone and began to tell Lin not to be afraid of professional players. You cannot run away before the battle. He said he wanted to win the championship, so he agreed to take part in it with him and teach this dumbass Sue, from which she was angry, and said that he is a bad teacher. Lin told him not to argue. They are all great players, so we need to calm down, because they all still have to play together. And then he abruptly turns his gaze to the side, sees some crowd, and realizes that something obviously happened, so he decides to go and take a look. So he hangs up the phone. Sue started interrupting and asking what happened, asking Lin not to keep quiet, but the evil spirit said the game starts in an hour, so he should make it in time. Now Sue claims that evil spirit just wants to take part in the finale. How could he not be ashamed to pretend that Lin made him do it? He realized that she is not stupid and told her just not to get in the way during the finale. As it turned out, there was some boy in that crowd, grabbing hold of a man, saying he was his grandfather and he was sick. All the people were just watching and filming it, and Lin was trying to get through them. Lin began to ask these people what happened, but they said they did not know. This old man suddenly fell down and probably wants to cheat, and the other told Lin not to get too close. You have to be careful of cheaters. This boy began to explain that his grandfather suddenly grabbed his heart and fell, and then asked for help, and Lin understood that it was a heart attack because of the shock. Then started asking people to dial 120, and started asking if there was a doctor or nurse who could provide first aid, but everyone around just kept quiet and looked on. All the people were looking at him, and Lin himself was puzzled. Didn't they know that a person could die of a heart attack? No one even called 120, but all the people around just thought they were the extreme in this case, not understanding who this guy was, and some thought this man was already dead. Lin had no choice but to ask the system for help, saying he needed first aid skills and medicine, but she said he couldn't unlock the skill while outside the mission. But he didn't have time for this nonsense, so he grabbed the system, saying that rights are limiting and human life is more important than breaking the rules, to which the system agreed, saying that he was the one who made him his master, so he would make saving lives an extra task. Since Lin simply didn't have time for that, he told the system to stop talking nonsense and give him something to save the man, and she had no choice but to listen. And the system did give him some kind of ability, which made his hand catch blue flame, and he hit the man with it. This made all the people incredibly surprised, and the man himself stood up, which made the child very surprised and happy, and Lin looked like a real hero who had saved a man in trouble. It turned out to be an elderly grandfather who asked Lin if he saved him, but Lin himself didn't have time. So he said that since the grandfather woke up, he ran, he had an urgent matter, and 120 would help him. And then he started getting phone calls. It was a crying Sue saying that the match would start in 15 minutes, asking where he was, why he wasn't answering the phone, and the evil spirit started claiming that he was bullying him, so he was going home. But he quickly explained that he was delayed because of something important, and they asked what could be more important than the finals, if he knows that all the players and tens of thousands of spectators are waiting for Lin right now, and he doesn't care about that. It's a big game, and you have to take it responsibly. The same old man suddenly came up from behind Lin's back, and asked where was this urgent case he said was, and at this time in the hall was already running a timer, which was a countdown to the start of the game, and people could not understand why the game has not yet started. Does not the game begins at 10? Why does nothing happen? Why this team is missing one person? Ponder the people who dared to be late to the official finals, the most important event of this game. And then Lin suddenly appears in this room, shouting that here he is. People are surprised, not knowing if it's the deliverman who is invited to the sorvention. There must be some mistake, such an important competition, and he showed up. The whole crowd was very angry, and they said that it's better that he will quit. So many viewers want to see his real face. They were really furious. So they said, Lin, you go away from this competition. And the guard starts saying that this guy is a hero. He saved their lord. Do they even know who their lord is? But Lin stops him. He says he's not here to brag about his moral qualities. Today is all about the final contest. Hello everyone who watches it. The match is about to start. So he decided that he would go to the others, and also thank them for giving him a ride, and then ask them to tell the old man from him to get better. But he told him to wait a little while, giving him something, saying it was a business card that the master asked him to give him. He could come to him if he had any difficulties in the future. It was a thank you for saving his life. The evil spirit was very surprised that Lin arrived so quickly to them, because he was 40 kilometers away, 15 minutes. He even thought that Lin had learned to fly. Lin replied that it was the fastest car in his life, and quite an interesting ride, especially when all the cars give way. The show started. Some man welcomed everyone to the final contest of the divine front with a firearm. Lin Chung, the delivery guy, the first candidate to fly out, gave first aid to an elderly man with a heart attack, so he was a little late. He is very happy and proud of him. And now the competition begins. He suggested getting to know the next two teams better, and on this side, the red team, the first place winner in the competition, their leader W God, and the head of the blue team, Deliverman Lin Chung. To keep things fair, they have random players for both teams. Adding outsiders to teams by admins will add complexity to already known players. There are all kinds of players in this competition, but only one team will win the 660,000 yuan prize, and they will soon find out which team it will be. Let the game begin. which everyone has been waiting and wishing for so long. After going through so much, the players have finally come to this final. Evil Spirit wanted to fight with these professional players for a long time, and Sue decided that she would show everyone her current skills and prove that she is not a zero after all. And Lin is just a delivery guy who wants to win the 660,000 yuan prize. That's all. He doesn't need anything else from this tournament and all these big words. The opponents told their team not to worry. Their team won't be as aggressive for a while, so let them try to survive as long as possible. They want to let the audience have fun. But Lin decided that no, he wants to finish quickly, get the prize, and go back to the food delivery. The little fat fish started saying that you should know your capabilities. They were invited just for the fun of the audience. Do you really think you can win? He asked, but the evil spirit told him not to be so arrogant. They are strong enough. Sue supported him. His ally stopped him and said he was wrong. They should all do their best and show their strength in action, not bragging in words. And then Sue realized that she felt all the way that someone was following them. These jerks still keep up. The evil spirit decided that she was imagining things. In an official competition there should be no cheating. In addition, some of them just keep coming. Technically, outsiders on the team make it difficult for them and the professional team to play. But who doesn't want a prize of 660,000 yuan? He's right, isn't he? And yes, he was right. And this comrade asserted that their team was too strong to be hurt by others, after which he laughed a little. Sue, the Queen of Death, began to say that it's true. They can get anything they want, because they now have a pretty good outfit. Lin began to think through tactics with the evil spirit to win this battle, and told the evil spirit that they would hide in the grass and start firing, but the main thing was not to let them. And then from behind their back one of their comrades shot, almost hitting the evil spirit. Lin immediately asked what he was even doing, why he was giving away their position and shooting at an ally. Then Lin realized that the opponents were already near, because they had attracted their attention. So he told the evil spirit to shoot straight at the head, and he immediately replied that he knew it. They began to kill all the opponents one by one, leaving no chance, hitting exactly in the head, penetrating even the third-level helmets. People were all amazed at the way they played, and admired this shooting, saying that this team could really topple a professional team, and non-stop said various positive comments in their direction. The evil spirit and Sue pounced on him, asking what he was doing. If Lin Chung hadn't shot before his opponent, they would be dead already, and Sue echoed his words, asking if it was so hard just to listen to Lin's instructions, and he apologized and said he was in a hurry to shoot. But Lin was calm, saying they needed to find the car first. Most likely the professional team had already killed almost all the outsiders. They would shepherd the big bridge, and the evil spirit asked why they needed to go to the big bridge. To screw up a professional team, of course, approved Lin. He said it with a smile on his face, because he had originally planned to finish the game quickly and go on to deliver the food. They were already sitting on the bridge, and Sue asked Lin if they could hide here, but would the enemy come? He began to explain that the bridge was a road that had to be taken one way or another, and said just listen to his instructions, and everything would be fine. Their comrade approved that thinks there is one problem. The fact that they are professional players does not matter much. They just stand so casually, right in the middle. Anyone 100 meters away from you, who is alright with the shooting, can kill Lin with a shot to the head. All people were very angry, saying that Lin Chung behaves too careless. This is not a joke game with friends, so let him not waste their money and time. This Deliverman team is so boring. I'm leaving. I do not want to watch this, approved some spectator. But Lin reassured his comrade by saying that they would definitely come to the bridge, and they would solve everything quickly, and said that he would reveal a specific strategy later, and said not to worry, saying that everything would be fine. And this comrade concluded that Lin is a great liar. Let them wait and see how he can play. He is afraid that they have not even thought about it, but he is actually a secret agent of another team. Hard-ass system. Lin Chung plans to fight a professional team on the bridge, come and ambush him, he passed on. They heard that signal, and they realized that the ass gave them directions. So now they have to go to the bridge to see the situation and kill everyone there. Let them just wait until they start fighting on both sides. He sits back and gets their equipment, and then some man asks if he's done, to which he says he'll be done soon. There's nothing to worry about. Then he gets incredibly scared, realizing that he was approached and saw what he was doing. It was Lin, and the comrade himself was incredibly frightened that he fell to the ground. And Lin looked at him very menacingly, just as Su and the evil spirit asked the wretched man if he had anything to say before he died, and he began to ask in bewilderment what they were planning to do to him. They realized Lin was right. He was a terrible person, so they started beating him. The evil spirit told him that he was certainly good. No wonder he had been shooting very strangely before, giving them information from the beginning. He ended his career as a foolish agent. May his soul rest in peace. After which Lin simply threw him off the bridge into the water, as pirates did with traitors. His real comrades did not understand how the ass was killed. They assumed that the professional team and Lin Cheng's team were now fighting, but decided that it did not matter. What was important was to go to the bridge and win the competition. The one who led this tournament and communicated with the audience claimed that they are not afraid not only to fight with a professional team, but also to kill a spy in the team. Their blue team is really unusual. The performance promises to be interesting. Su wondered, since Lin figured out long ago that this man was an agent, so why wait for him to reveal their position rather than kill him right away? He began to explain that now in the game there are 5 other teams, in addition to theirs, and the task team. Basically all have to cross the bridge in search of the loot. He plans to fight with the 5 teams here, wants to work hard, and never no worries. It is a tough battle men, and the evil spirit decided that he will try. And at that moment the same chubby guy already took aim at Lin, and did not understand what they were doing at all, why he was warming up, what it was all for. Lin saw their sight, and started beckoning them to him, and he got mad from provoking them. Someone on the side said he didn't care what Lin was doing, just had to shoot to kill. Since he is so arrogant, then this game will end quickly, with a clear outcome for everyone, their victory. At least they thought so themselves, because it seemed so from the outside. They will show who the professionals are here. Lin used the skill 100% bullet evasion. The skill in the game increased reflexes to Lin's limit. The action time is 10 seconds. Has the skirmish already started? They came to shoot too, and decided that they would kill as many as they could. And it was a real battlefield in which the strongest survived. Then instead of dodging, Lin decided to beat off all the bullets with the pans he had in his hands, like baseball, only with different rules. All the players could not understand what kind of manipulation. He dodged all the bullets. People really have not seen this before. How is this even possible? It's too much even for a professional. And then one of the professionals came up close to Lin, and said that from such a close distance, he is not sure. So they won. There is no other way out. Thanks for watching. If you want part 2, like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends.